If it means we have to play Chelsea in the final to stop them winning it, I will put myself through the anxiety.
And I just want to know, like, how did you think of, right, I'm going to put all my thoughts onto a page? Like, what was your first step in doing that?
People who work in those bars in Lisbon, if you're watching, I love you. Like, I'm sure they're definitely watching your podcast.
They're definitely watching it, so shout out to you guys. Welcome back to the Arsenal Humans Fanzone with me, Luce. I hope you're all good. As you can see on the screen, we've got Daisy, who obviously is an Arsenal fan, but I feel like you work in it. You're home and away for literally every fixture, I feel like. Like, I can always see in the Instagram post, you in the corner. So, yeah, I feel like you're going to have a lot to tell me about. So I feel like, yeah, let's just get straight into it. The first question that I ask literally every guest is, why Arsenal? So for you, why do you support Arsenal? Are there any influences like family, players, anything like that? Just yap for a bit, basically.
Oh, well, I can do that. First of all, thanks for having me. I love the podcast. I'm going to pretend to be your biggest fan now, but I actually am.
Wow, you know what? And that's all for today. Thanks for
thanks for watching, guys. Pretend was in there as a joke. But yeah, no, definitely.
Nice.
Like, I love the pod and I love going on stuff that's Arsenal related. Basically, it's an excuse to yap about Arsenal and actually call it work to my parents, who are like, what are you doing? I'm like, working. But I'm actually just talking about Arsenal. So I'm like, this works. But yeah, right, let's go back to the start. So I've kind of always had football, like, in my life. Like, my family have always been really into football. All different teams. Like, where we're from, we're basically, like, I live up north, obviously. This is like, I bring this up every time I can.
She's not putting the accent on.
Multiple times, and now I'm going to talk more of a northern accent to prove a point. Yeah, so where we're from, it's a bit like a small town, so a lot of people support their local, or they support a bigger team naturally. So my mum grew up around like a lot of Manchester United fans. But you know, my granddad was a Chelsea fan. You're gonna be like, there's no Arsenal link here at all, but I never really like followed men's football that much. I watched kind of a lot with my dad and my granddad growing up, but I was never really into it. And I think I'm kind of just about old enough to say I was from that generation where women's football wasn't necessarily talked about a lot. I saw a lot of the Lionesses on TV, and that was about it. And I really got into it through that. So about 2017, I started watching sort of more women's football, more internationals. 2019, I really got into it. I know that's for like people my age, that's kind of a lot where a lot of people came into it. Maybe watched it briefly before, but when the World Cup hit, then I was like, well, I'm really into this. But I remember like being like, why is nobody else into this? Like, when you feel like you've got a hobby and you really want everyone else to be on the hype, but they're not quite there yet. And I didn't see the vision of what was going to happen next, of course, but I really wanted other people that I was interested in. But I wanted to follow the league more, so I was more watching the WSL in general rather than following a team. I kind of just would watch what was on TV, which typically was Arsenal v Chelsea, I will admit. That came up so many times naturally. And I know we'll get into this question, but Van der Donk was one of the first players that I watched, and I really do like those kind of players. I'm not the type of person that maybe goes for like the traditional favourite player. I kind of like those who are more technically abilited or underrated. Like my favourite player now is Emily Fox, which I'm sure I'll get into, but I like players that maybe go under the radar.
You've actually just answered all my questions already.
And that's the end of the interview, yeah. But I feel like it was worth mentioning there because those kind of players, I don't know, that's what kind of got me into it. And it wasn't until about 4 years ago that I actually went to the first Arsenal game that I ever went to. Then it was the Euros, and then I started going. I was like, right, this season I'm gonna buy a season ticket. When it was first like they were really pushing the Emirates, I was like, I'll see how it goes. I'll go to one or two. The amount of people that tell me this story that they're like, I'm gonna go to one or two, and then went to the whole season. That's basically what I did, and I went to so many that year. I didn't go out for the World Cup because unfortunately my funds didn't allow me to go to Australia. But the season after that, I think that's last season. I pretty much did every single game that I possibly could. I'm not going to say I did every single one because I think I missed about 8 of the whole season, but I did about 34 games.
That's shocking you missed that many.
I should. It was all at the start of the season because I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, I think I did 32 in a row without missing a single game, home and away. That was Madrid, Lyon, the final in Lisbon, all the way down to Crawley. I did Villa when we lost 5-2. I literally have I've just basically seen
Wow.
it all. I have seen the highs and the lows of women's football and Arsenal Football Club. And then Renee Slegers saved us all from what was going to be an awful season, and we ended up winning the Champions League, which I'm going to drop in there one more time because I feel like we need to just say that maybe
Honestly,
more.
I feel like all my questions are based around that anyway, so
Okay,
just
perfect. We'll bring
keep
it up
going with
another
it.
10 times. Yeah, I feel like you can't go in any conversation about Arsenal, especially Arsenal women, and not bring that up. Unfortunately, Chelsea fans love us for that. But yeah, so I just started watching it then, and then since then I've basically become obsessed. And in that time, kind of got into it more as sort of a job, as work. Like I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
that's one of your questions, so I'm not going to take another one of your questions. But yeah, that's where it
Fine.
started
Two of
from,
them.
and now I've kind of become obsessed. So I probably like at this point it's more than a hobby. It's kind of like my whole life. So yeah. That's a
Wow.
short
Yeah, I
story
feel
there, I
that was a really short answer. Thank you.
think.
No. One thing I've noticed because obviously you mentioned like so many different Premier League WSL teams there in your family, but
Mhm.
one thing I noticed is it your dad that's at games with you,
So yeah,
or
so my mum comes to a lot now. That about last season, I said to her, um, there was a game, I think it was in Manchester, and I said to her, "Oh, why don't you come and see?" Like, my mum's like, we're really close, so I
that's
thought it would be
cute.
nice for us to have. I mean, I go there all the time, so the only time I'm going to see her is if I bring her along to the football.
Yeah,
So I
that's
thought, why
true.
don't you come with and see? I don't think at first because she's never been like she's been influenced by other people like in her life to just
hmm
watch football or go to the football locally, but she's never been really bothered by it. But she's always been, her and my grandma have always really been into the Lionesses. So I was like, why don't you come to a
Oh,
WSL
okay.
game? Like, see what it's like. Like, you might accidentally become like me and have to go every single week for some reason. And she really loved it. And then she bought a season ticket. She's sat with us in Block 10 at the Emirates this season.
Nice.
Um, my dad is a bit more introverted than my mum, so his like conversations with me come very much at home in private, telling me
Okay.
who did well in the game. I'll come when me and my mum will come back from the football and he'll be like, this person did really well, this person did really well, I really like this player. And that's as much as his interest goes. But yeah, my mum's kind of also become a bit of a, and she went to a game the other day that I didn't go to. So I think
Oh
at this
wow.
point,
Die
I'm not
Hard.
even going to say that I'm influencing her. She's just a full-time Gooner now, and she's influenced by everybody else. And she's there sending me pictures, telling me who's doing what in the game, and I'm like, wow, this is yeah more than I expected, but it's really nice. And my sister goes a lot as well, so
hmm
it's become a family affair now, and I think everyone's become influenced. My grandparents watch it at home. They're trying to tell me how to figure out Disney Plus to watch the Champions League. I'm like, this is just it's just
It's got to
great.
be done.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm sorry that I'm putting you through it. That some of the games that you have to watch with Arsenal, but yeah, they've
No,
become.
it's so nice that like everyone's on board with it because I feel like my family it's sort of split. Like my dad's family is quite into football, but mostly Chelsea fans, so it's a bit rough. I know,
Touchy
honestly.
subject, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit common everything. Whereas my mum's family's not really, so it's sort of like, oh, do you want to watch it? Oh, not really too fussy. So it's nice that you're surrounded on both sides, extroverted, introverted, like everything like that. I
Yeah.
feel like I actually don't know this about you. So this could be like a yes or no question. But did you actually play football when you were growing up? Because if you got into it in the 2019, like that sort of era,
Mhm.
then I don't know if you actually had previous love for the game as a whole without supporting a team.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I was extremely sporty, like in terms of
hmm
being in school. Like where we're from, it's quite like a not a rough area. I hate to bring it down, but like where we're from, we kind of you kind of grow up playing football, like
Yeah.
going out with friends. Like that was as much as I did it, and I did it in school. Like I did pretty much any sport that I could or any club that I could sign myself up for because I was that kid, that annoying kid in PE that actually enjoyed the subject. And like my friends now who were into women's football,
Same.
they were like, oh, I'm bringing my notes of why I can't like do PE, and I was there like, oh, those people that don't want to do PE because I was
They
like,
were so
I
annoying.
want, yeah, exactly. I was like, I really want more people to do it, like because they would like as we got to like year 10 and 11 like towards the end of school all the girls were like let's go in the gym and I'm like looking through the window at the boys that are playing like football or dodgeball. I'm like I wish I was in there because I would just get like outvoted and we
hmm
would be pushed into some sport that I didn't actually enjoy and you can barely even call like it as a sport. I wanted to be in the team sport. I wanted to be in the team, but I kind
hmm
of never really joined it outside. I just didn't find it, like I didn't find that team. I didn't have that kind of connection to it outside of school, but I loved it in school, and I kind of wish in hindsight that I'd kept it up. And now when people ask me, "Oh, do you play now?" I'm like, I'm too unfit. Like I genuinely am. Like I need to be. I could not run for 90 minutes. Like that is the truth. Like I would love to be able to get fitter and then maybe do it, but it would genuinely be like for fun, and I'd also have to fit it into my busy schedule. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe hold me to that as like some New Year's resolution that I'm never going to do. But yeah, that's
Okay, well,
about
I'll hold you to it. Great.
yeah, that's about as much as I can say I did, and I never really kind of fell into a team or made it a full-time hobby really.
But I think that's the difference now. Like, as in, even my cousins, they're like, oh yeah, we're allowed to play football in PE lessons, and
Mhm.
we do football and rugby for like one term, and then we do netball the other one, and basketball, and like they're able to do so many different sports. But I do feel like the Lionesses are gonna have that influence. So maybe if you were a kid nowadays, you might actually have joined a team outside of school. Just, I don't know. I think it's quite hard to break the mold. One thing I loved when I was at school, that you'd get picked up from lessons early. Like, you get to leave
Yeah.
lessons early for being in the teams. Like you, I was in basically every sport team, so I'd be like, oh, sorry, I've got to go to like a rounders game. Like, who am
Yeah.
I don't know who plays rounders, but I did, and I literally would just
I
love
love
leaving
rounders.
early. Honestly, it felt like the coolest person. So yeah, it is interesting to see how the women's game has grown, and obviously it's filtered into schools. Like, what was it, the Lionesses winning and then changing laws and everything when they
Yeah.
won it the first time in 22. So I feel like it is, yeah, just it's nice to see the progression. Moving on, this is really not a smooth transition. I know before we started we were like, let's see if we can do any smooth transitions. I want to ask you, because you've mentioned a few like favorite players, a few favorite moments. You've obviously mentioned the Champions League, and I was like, you know what? Let me ask you what I ask everyone else of, oh, what's your favorite game you've been to? But I kind of want to just scratch that. I'm like, just talk to me about that final, because you are one of the lucky people, but also you worked hard to get to that final as well. I'm sure with like money and everything like that. But you were one of the people that were in that stadium to witness that 1-0 against Barca, and yeah, just tell me about it. Set the scene, because that must have been one of the maddest days ever.
I honestly think that whole however many months, I think it was from when we did Madrid, all the
Hmm.
way in the rain, by the way, because it was a soggy night in Madrid. We came back at the
Whatever the weather.
anniversary. Exactly. We came back and we did that, and then we did Leon. It was all a whirlwind. Like, I think people don't realise, like, I was just living every single day. In between that, I was going midweek to Crawley or Birmingham, and watching us get absolutely battered by Brighton and Villa. And then it would just be like that never happened, and we'd move on, and we'd get on a plane, and we'd be in Leon, we were in some brewery in Leon drinking about a million pints, and thinking like, how is this real? But I will actually go back to what you actually asked, which was Lisbon.
You're
I'm
setting
one
the
of the
scene.
exactly. I'm one of the few people where I go with my friend Bill, who I went to university with. He's 65, by the way, and he's into women's football because he basically started watching it similar. He watched the Lionesses in 23, and he was like, I love Alessia Russo. What team does she play for? And it was the time where she just signed for Arsenal. And I remember he saw that I was at a game, and he was like saying he'd got into it and we wanted to go. So we've been going to lots of games together. But there was a
That's
few.
so cute.
It was honestly, it's amazing. But people are like, like the when we tell them about the dynamic, like, yeah, we met at uni, and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like we've just ended up finding something that we're both so interested
You're
in.
like, I look really good for my age.
Yeah, I'm actually, no, he's the same. He's like, yeah, I'm turning 21 soon, and I'm like, keeping you young. But yeah, no, we were like, should we take a risk? And this was months before the Champions League, and we were like, surely this Arsenal team under an interim manager is not going to get to the Champions League final, but it's in Lisbon, it's in Portugal, the weather would be nice, it'd be a nice holiday, should we book it? So we were one of the few people that booked it months in advance when the
Mhm.
flights were 100 and something, when the accommodation cost us near to nothing, and we said, whatever happens, we're going to be there. And I said, unless it's Chelsea, and then I'm going to stay in the pub, and I'm not going into that stadium, I'm not going to watch Chelsea in the Champions
Valid.
League. We bought match, like we bought I don't think I don't know if we ended up buying tickets again because we wanted to sit with the Arsenal people, but
Mhm.
we had everything set, and believe it or not, Arsenal got there. So when I saw people paying, some people were doing it on literally the full-time Whistler in Leon, booking flights that were 300, 400, £500. I was thinking that was probably the best risk I've ever taken, probably the only one that's ever paid off.
Mhm.
So yeah, we went. I got to think back now because I've only just been to Lisbon again, and it feels like that's taken over my mind because I'm like, how I was back at watching Arsenal against Benfica, and I was like, this is so weird. But we did
Was
find
it,
it.
sorry, just on that game, I think it was Lotta put on her Instagram, like doing eyes to try and see the fans. Why were you so far up? Like, where was the other, like the home fans? Where were they sat?
Oh, this is. I feel like this is another. This is a whole like other conversation because I put a tweet out when we were there at the game, and I put a picture of how far we were sat, and I put all the stuff that had gone wrong because we had such a situation. Like it was compared to what we had in at the Sporting Stadium, which was incredible and probably the best day of my
Hmm.
life. In like coming all the way here, I mean, we had riot police with us. They had Benfica fans in the away end. We were sat at the very top. It was because apparently, according to the club, that's where the designated away section is. Even though I expressed on Twitter that when we've been to other places, we've not always been put in the men's designated away section because they've recognised that they're in a huge stadium and there was
Hmm.
3,000 fans in that stadium. So the whole bottom of where we could have been sat was empty. Not only that, they didn't even let us sit at the front of the top. So we were like at the back of the top.
What? That's so
Yeah, now you
weird.
understand why Lotta was doing this because we couldn't see them and they couldn't see us, but I'm sure they could
Mhm.
hear us. We tried our very best, but lots of things went wrong that day. I mean, it wasn't a nice atmosphere. As we walked in, we had a pre-arranged fan walk and somebody threw a firework at us. So I took to social media, which is my own Twitter, which is majority obviously Arsenal fans, a lot of them are still women fans, and said all this has happened. Oh, the seat broke as well. So the person sat behind me, the seat
Oh
broke. It
my
actually came
gosh,
off.
one thing after the other.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, perfect. I'll tell everyone what's going on, and it did that thing that sometimes happens in women's football where it reaches the wrong audience. So my tweet
Right.
made it onto male football Twitter, and I just became a victim in all of this. I was the problem. I shouldn't complain. Nobody watches women. All the cliches. Honestly, yeah.
Hmm.
I think people think that it's just cliches. No, I actually did get all of those cliche responses, like a lot of personal hate towards me. Is this your first sort of away day? All of those kind of jokes. I was just giggling, thinking, the sites that I've seen like last season and places I've been. I'm like, I'm not gonna let it bother me. But I gained 25 followers from it, so silver lining, I guess. Maybe I just
25.
got some increased fame on Twitter now, but no, that was a very different experience to
Sorry,
being
yeah, let's
back
not
to what
give
we
that more airtime because I feel like that is a negative Lisbon experience. But we really want to go back to the
Yes.
obviously you thinking so far ahead and getting that seat in that stadium for that final because that's just insane in itself.
It really was. Like it I said to somebody the other day who was asking about it, I was like, I swear somehow nearly everybody that I'd seen the whole season at away games and stuff was there. Like it was so weird. Like often you see people come and go like with other commitments, but so many people were there, like so many familiar faces. The vibes before on Pink Street were incredible. But for me, I think obviously being there, seeing the goal, like we've got the goal filmed
Hmm.
on video. My friend managed to film the reaction, which was incredible. But I think for me the highlight was after. Like I think that's crazy, maybe crazy to say because obviously like we stayed there for an hour plus after until the very last person left that pitch, like clapping those players. Like every single player got to lift the trophy. We sang every chant under the sun. Like it really was incredible, and it literally was under the sun because it was really hot that day, and I had to step out once or twice. I actually love the story because I stepped out into the concourse and because I was really hot, I needed water, and it was after the goal had been scored, and the policewoman, she came up to me and she said, do you want me to get you out of the stadium? And I said, get me out of the stadium. I'm like, Stina Blackstenius has just put us 1-0 up in the Champions League final. I'm not leaving the stadium unless you literally carry me out fainted from heat exhaustion. Like, I am staying for this. Like, we are going to win this now. Like, I truly believe it. And she just laughed it off. And I was like, but imagine I'd left that stadium. Like, oh, honestly,
That
yeah.
actually, no, imagine what would you say? I'd be like, oh, so how was it? And you'd be like, I don't know, I
I
left
don't know.
early.
I was
Like,
outside. I don't know. I was sort of outside. Yeah, it made no difference anyway because if I left the stadium, it was just as hot. So I don't know what she maybe it was maybe the best option for me to be sat on the floor
maybe just go
in the
home is what she was
concourse.
saying. Just
Yeah, I'm
leave.
still gonna get on a flight and just say forget it. That didn't work out. But no, I was never gonna leave. And like, but yeah, for me after was the ultimate. Like we got back to Pink Street. We actually were one of the first back somehow, even though we stayed there for hours, and we managed to get a table. And I was like, right, everybody, put your stuff on this table because I said to you in about 15 minutes time, you're not going to be able to move on this street. And I was right. And Farah from the supporters club even said to me in Benfica, she was like, I remember when you got that table and everybody was trying to sit with you. And I was like, yeah, like I just, I don't know why the highlight of my whole trip
So
was me.
popular.
Yeah, it was me trying to get me trying to reserve a table, but clearly that's staying in my memory. But yeah, it was incredible. Like flags dangling off the bridge, like people like shirts off on the tables, like the bars. May I just say, the bars, people who work in those bars in Lisbon, if you're watching, I love you. Like I'm sure they're definitely watching your
They're
podcast
definitely watching it,
because they're
so
big
shout out
fans.
to you guys.
We went back for Benfica and they were like, I remember you. And I was thinking that's better be for a good reason, not for a bad reason. Because I did get told to get off the table many times because I was
Okay.
banging on their building that where the bar was. And I was like, yeah, but this is an exception because like we just won the Champions League. All due
Literally.
respect, I just bought like a million drinks from you. Like, thanks. And also, the bar was gonna. I'm sorry, I'm telling a million stories in one, but the bar
No,
was
I'm
going to
so excited from this.
the bar was going to close like as we arrived, and I said to the woman, I said, you can't close now, you've got about 500 Arsenal fans coming your way. So she said, I go and speak to the boss, and the boss came out to speak to me and was like, what's going on? I was like, we just won the Champions League. I was like, if you stay open, you will take the best figures that you're going to take this week. Like, stay open, serve drinks. And this woman, bless her, she was the most incredible like waitress I've ever seen. Like, she came out, she's like, what do you want? She took about 7 orders and came back and gave everyone the correct drink. I was
Oh my
like, how have you
gosh.
just done that? She was like, what do you want to drink? And me and my friend were like, a beer. And she was like, big beer? I was like, big beer. I was like, many big beers actually. But yeah, that was just incredible, and just like when you're in the moment and you're looking around, you're like, this is like women's football. We've won the Champions League.
Mhm.
Like, there's like hundreds of people here, like scarves in the air, like a drum, like friends and family of the players. Like you've never seen anything like it. It was just incredible, and I've just rambled, but I hope people enjoyed that story because it literally lived
Mhm.
in my head rent free. I can't lie.
I mean, I definitely enjoyed that story. I feel like I had so many things, like you said so much that I'm like, oh my God, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about, like, obviously, firstly, thank you on behalf of, I guess, everyone there that you managed to get alcohol for everyone.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure everyone was very grateful for that, for you leading the way with that. And it's really just sweet that I don't know, they stayed open, and for you to even just look around and be like, right, this is people caring about women's sport. This is people caring about Arsenal women. And I do feel like that is something that we've been quite historically good for. Like, I feel like that was a really poorly word, but we've known for our fan base basically. And I feel like when I look around at any games now, I just get pinch me moments because my love for Arsenal started when I was 10 years old. So that at Meadow Park, there was probably about 50 maximum people there, all just dotted around the stage, and probably like parents of the players and stuff at this point. And now when I go to the Emirates, I'm like, wow, like
Mhm.
even getting 25,000 people, which I feel like the attendances haven't been as high as they have been the last few years, but I'm like, even to get that compared to the other clubs in the WSL, I'm like, we're doing something really good here. And I just feel like I want you to just talk about the fan base and what it's like to be part of that fan base, because obviously you mentioned there being with everyone, getting those goosebumps moments, which I feel like you have a lot with Arsenal, but I do feel like the fan base definitely sets us apart. So yeah, I just wanna hear your thoughts on them.
Yeah, when I like talk about this, and like I always come back to the fact that I'm like, football is my life, and I think people think it's like an exaggeration. It's definitely not to us, because when I say it's my life, it's because everything I do, like majority of what I do day to day, like weekends, like evenings, my friends, now my family, like it all comes back to that, and it's kind of seems dramatic, but it's not, because I came into it when I first started going. I started going with the person that I was with at the time, and got her into it, and we really enjoyed going together, and I was like, oh, I had no idea what to expect. I knew this is not normal to see this many people here. Like I knew that it was
Mhm.
massive. I knew what the club was historically, and I knew what they'd built, and I'd done my research, no doubt, but I didn't you don't actually understand it until you're in it. Like I feel like people see it a different way until you're in it. Like when you're there at the pubs, you see familiar faces. It's not just a formality of like, oh, good to see you. It's like these are some of my closest friends, like my best friends,
Mhm.
like now I've met through either working in football or going to the games, or randomly just bumping into each other. One of my closest friend Emily, I literally met her because one day we kind of had mutual friends, but we were in the pub together, and in the Coronet after an Arsenal game, and it was after the trophy parade when we
Oh yeah,
Let's
yeah,
bring it
yeah,
up
yeah.
one more time when we won the Champions League. Let's just drop that in there in case you all
I don't know
forgot.
if anyone actually knows that
I don't
happened,
know if you
but
remembered that, but we haven't brought this up yet, so we have to mention it. And we ended up North London Forever came on the pub. We ended up holding a scarf together, singing, drinking, and then we just became really close after that. I think that's what people don't realise is that you actually just have one conversation with someone, and
Mhm.
then you speak to them every single time you come, and you build these relationships. And I think it is as much a social thing as it has ever been a go to the football, because I love the game of football. I love the tactics. I write about that. Like I'm obsessed with that as much as I am the other side. But then I go and I write, oh, these are my favorite people, my closest friends. So I see it from all different angles, and like
Mhm.
there's so many questions that I know you can ask with that. But I just think like at the end of the day, it is my hobby, it is my life, and the Arsenal community is like no other. Until you're in it, you can't understand it. But I've encouraged on every podcast. I'm like, come to the game, find me in the pub, say hi to me. Like I love meeting new people, and now I do it, and it catches me off guard because I was in Benfica and somebody came up and tapped me on the shoulder and was like, Daisy, and I was like, yeah, and he was like, I love the Gooner podcast, and I'm like, that's so sweet, and I'm just like, not to make it seem like I have fans or anything, but
No,
I
but
just
you do, and you have friends, and it's a good community to be a part of.
absolutely, yeah, and I love talking to new people, and like I will talk to literally anyone. I think people don't realise that. Like as you can tell, I just yap and yap about it, especially if it's Arsenal, because I feel like I can never run out of things to say. And despite the fact that it's very early in the morning, we're just here like going on and on and on about it. But yeah, it's great. And I just love coming at it from so many different angles. I think that's what makes it so interesting to me.
No, I think I'm the exact same. I feel like that's why we got on. Like, even our friendship is because of this fan base, because of this club. It's given us that community. And I feel like you're not the only person I've had on here. I've had Laura, obviously, Farah, who's the chair of the
Mhm.
supporters club, mention it's that inclusivity, it's that community that I don't think you get it from Arsenal men's fan base as much. And I don't really feel like the other WSL teams are there just yet. I think we have become the blueprint of, right, we've had all this success, and yes, like all the tactical things you write about and everything like that, we can get into that. But right now, it's literally that social life. So I feel like I'm just going to echo everything you said, because for me, I love chatting to anyone, like
Yeah.
about anything, and it's always so fun. And that's the place you can do it. Like, you don't even go there to necessarily talk about the game. You go there to watch the football, and then after in the pub or before in the pub, you just yap about anything. And honestly, it just feels so nice to be able to do that. And I feel like what obviously you mentioned about you like the tactics side, moving away from the actual game itself, or moving away from you being a fan, but moving into more like the working side of it and how you've made that transition from being the fan to working in the media. That's something that I'm figuring out. I feel like a lot of people are figuring out. I literally like I'm actually, you know what, I am your fan. I'm gonna say it. I'm your
We're
fan
fans of
because
each other, I feel like we're coming on this as friends
stop.
because we met once and we had one conversation and we just clicked. Like I don't know when when you meet somebody it takes a bit of time.
Yeah.
Me and you we never had that.
I
We
feel like
met
we just hit the mic and we were like, yeah, calm.
literally I made one joke and you were like, oh,
Ugh.
and then that was it, and we just broke that barrier. But yeah, no, sorry, carry
No,
on. But I still
literally,
think
but
we are just fans of each other, and that's a good thing. We're like
yeah,
so supportive in every way. We're trying to learn from
exactly.
each other as well, but I'm not sure we're doing much learning. We're kind of just
You know what, actually? You'll be shocked because I've literally written in my notes, I literally wrote in brackets, I'm a huge fan, but I wrote in my notes that your what I love about your writing, and recently, I can't believe I've only discovered this recently, but your Substack, I love it because I
thank you.
think maybe like a month or two ago, because obviously with this pod, every Tuesday I'm here yapping about the men's, the women's, what's going right, what's going wrong. And recently, I feel like I'm like, what is going on with the women's side? Like, something is not clicking. Something clicked so good against Barca in that final that we've obviously just spoken about, and something now isn't working. So I was like, where do I go? I go to Daisy's Substack. So I went in there, and I feel like I found out so many answers or things I haven't even thought of. But I think it's because how you write your work, how you display your ideas, it's in such like a conversational way that I can relate to it, but also you give such a good like tactile insight that I'm like, oh, okay, this is, I feel clever, like I feel like I've learned something from this. And I just want to know, like, how did you think of, right, I'm going to put all my thoughts onto a page? Like, what was your first step in doing that?
Yeah, and I'll pay you after for saying that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real, literally. I need that money.
No, definitely. Like, thank you. That's really kind. And I feel like when I like first came into it, where it all started, I feel like that's the best place to explain it to you to how I got to this point. But I'd always really when I watch something or when I do anything, I'm always quite
Mhm.
like analytical about it. Like I break everything down into little things, and I realised that not everybody was doing that when they were watching a game, and I was like, oh, I thought everybody did that. Like, I would watch it even as a kid, and I would like spend so much time being like, I want to learn why that happens. Like, I want to know how you win a game, how you set up
Mhm.
tactically, why certain things work and certain things don't. And not like nobody was doing it, because now there are so many incredible people who I literally take inspiration from that are writing about this, that are great, not just in Arsenal space but in the WSL, and like so many more stats accounts and stuff, which I love, because I'm like, I waited for this for so long. But when I first started writing, I was like, not many people are doing this. Not like in men's, there's loads of like, you can read about it. You can
Mhm.
literally Google on the Athletic or something and go, why are Arsenal men winning or not winning, and you can find out exactly how they're playing, how the style works, etc. But I was looking at it, trying to find stuff when I first started watching it, when we were under Jonas and stuff, why it wasn't working, why we were losing these games. I was like, nobody's actually writing this. Nobody's actually breaking down
Mhm.
what we're doing, how we're playing. Like, there's tactics in women's football that are just as advanced as what we're seeing in men's football now. Like, and I wanted someone to write about that. So that's where I first started. That's where I first came into it. And I just did it for fun. And I was like, I'm going to follow a few related accounts that are doing it and share my work and see if they could give me any feedback. One of course, is Tim Stillman, who is incredible and probably the I call him the
Mhm.
goat of Arsenal women, because he just does so much and he covered so much content. So I took so much inspiration from that. But I thought, I want to push this further. I want to grow the Substack, but also find my audience. Like, where are they? Like, I need to find these people. And I hadn't really found like the fans yet. Like, I hadn't built that community, like been going to games as often. And I messaged Freddie, who was obviously at the Gooner, who was incredible. And I said, look, I've written this piece. Do you like? There's no chance you want to publish it. And he was like, oh my God, like, absolutely. And I was like, if you ever need any help with anything, like, let me know. And it's always those messages where you just throw yourself out there that end up
Mhm.
changing everything. And that was like it for me. Like, I was he brought me on, and we really grew the Arsenal women. A lot of credit to him and Leif, the editor, but we grew a lot of the content together, and we pushed things like the print fanzine, which was obviously the first of its kind just for Arsenal women, Champions of Europe one, which I have up there, and lots of other ones when Chloe Kelly signed and things like that. But it was just that message, and I continued to push it. And push that kind of content. And as much as I do write about other things on my Substack, like, the season, what it felt like as a fan, like trying to make people understand what it's like to be a fan, but also writing about it,
Mhm.
I've continued to try and do as much analysis content, because I think people do want that, and people
Yeah.
comment on it and they say there's not enough of this, like, so I'm never going to stop doing that. And I realized one of the things I read from my Substack, which I don't know if you relate with the podcast, is for a long time I was making content and I was just like, I don't want to sit down and write this. Like, I cannot be bothered
Mhm.
to write this. I don't feel motivated. I don't enjoy it. And the second that I started writing things that I actually wanted to write, like learning about players that I enjoyed, I realized, oh, hang on, everyone else is loving this as well. I think you can tell when somebody's doing something that they actually enjoy, and it shows in the writing. And I gained a lot more people to, which was never about that, but a lot more people subscribed to it. A little claim to fame, but I think Alessia Russo's brother subscribed to it this week, so I'm
Oh
gonna
my
do a little
God.
I'm gonna do a little shout out there. But it's like little things like that, because I think some of the players, like families, enjoy reading that kind of thing, understanding their team and their child and how they fit into the system or how they play really well. So it all started from that. Yeah, that's kind of that side of things. But then I obviously I'm coming at it from a journalist perspective and trying to run a business at the same time, which
Mhm.
I'll probably pass it back to you, because I don't know if you've got
Pass me back
specific
the mic.
questions. Yeah, I'm just going to take all of your questions and answer them now. But
No, I mean
that's
I'm just sat here just like, yeah, oh my God, like just keep talking and talking because it's so nice to hear the passion for writing because I think
mm,
when I look at sports media, it's a lot of basically what I'm doing. A lot of like chatting to people. Obviously you do have that outlet as well, with your company, which we'll get into in a bit. And obviously with like you're saying the Guna, like you can obviously do the YouTube channel, like do the
mm.
YouTube channel, that made me sound really old. You can obviously like post
You can
videos on
warn
there,
you.
do the
Yeah.
YouTube. But obviously you can post videos and stuff. But I think it's something so nice in writing,
Yeah.
and I think because like what I was saying, conversational. I feel like that's the perfect way to describe your work because I feel like I'm sat at that rainy Meadow Park stadium. Like when you write it, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm there, and you can picture it yourself without someone talking to you. You're already imagining it, so it's so nice to just hear the enthusiasm come through that. And obviously, I feel like one of my questions was like, oh, what's your favorite thing about writing? But I feel like you've just answered it perfectly with it's almost that escape, but it's also combining the likes of actually using your journalistic skills, which obviously you can tell you're very good at in the writing, but also with like you're a passion, you're a fan, And I feel like that's something that's really important to like stick with, like being a fan. I'm just wondering, like with writing, because obviously the way the landscape sort of changed, like the media landscape, we are turning a bit more digital.
Yeah.
Obviously you have the print Gooner fanzine, which obviously is like more old school, but I feel like retro things are coming back. We've seen it with a lot of Arsenal retro kits anyways. So I just wondered, like, for you personally, where do you want to go with your writing? Like, is that something you see happening in the future, or I don't really know what the future of writing looks like, to be honest.
Yeah, it's so hard to predict because I like when you were saying about like the podcast and like seeing TikTok videos and stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, like I absolutely love watching things like watching your podcast. Like, I love filming the podcast with the Gooner. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and people do really love that. Like, we've started putting clips out and stuff on TikTok. Like, you have to react to the changing times, and I will not be ashamed to admit that I sit there watching people's match day vlogs. I love creating fun
Yeah.
content, like little TikTok edits and things like that, as much as I love sitting down and writing a piece. But I just don't want writing to be a dying art because I
Mm-hmm.
think it still has a space. Like you say, I love that you use the example of the print fanzine, because when we did it at the start, I remember having the same like reservations of being like, oh, what if nobody wants a magazine? Like, what if? And
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, I don't always think that it's something that people think, right, I'm going to sit down and read this. But when we won the Champions League, it's like I've gone to Lisbon and we've won the Champions League, and I've mentioned it again, but I'm gonna keep doing it.
Wait,
But
sorry, what did we do?
did I mention that yet? But anyway, I'll just
Okay,
slip
it's
that in. But
fine.
it's like I don't have anything to add. Like, I might have a
Mm-hmm.
program, or programs are still really popular, and it's like if we could create something like that that could capture, like you say, the emotions. So the piece that I did, and that was actually tactical. It was, as much as the emotions of Lisbon were incredible, and I
Mm-hmm.
wrote about that on the website. I wanted to capture that kind of content in the fanzine as well, because like you said, nothing's more exciting than being like, wait, how do we actually beat Barcelona? Like, how do we fully
Yeah.
sit down and tactically be the best team in the world? Like, it really is interesting to see that as well. And there were so many different narratives in that fanzine, and people love collectibles. Like, people love memorabilia. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they'll like that woman that comes around the corner with those pin badges. I keep falling victim to her. I'm like,
Obsessed.
why have I got 7 pin badges on my tote bag now? It's like, I just think that people love stuff like that. They love anything that you can put Arsenal women on, and I don't think other teams do that enough. Like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I'm gonna drop them. My friend Maisie is a Chelsea fan, allegedly.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I was about to say, I'm not sure. If you look at any social media,
mm,
it's looking
she's
a bit
often
iffy.
spotted at the Emirates if you're looking for her. But she always says, like, when we go when she goes to Chelsea and she like wants to buy like a nice T-shirt or something, it's literally just like Chelsea women or CFCW on the front. It's like no thought has been put into it.
Mm-hmm.
We got those T-shirts, Champions of Europe, nice print on the back, and I'm like, that's the kind of stuff we need to keep pushing. We need fanzines, we need
Mm-hmm.
badges, we need player scarves. Like, some clubs that even have player scarves. Like, it's so great to see that kind of like physical stuff, and I hope it never dies out. And that wasn't even your question. Your question was actually about writing, but I've talked about that too. But I just hope that goes back to the point of, I
Yeah.
hope writing doesn't die out. And for me,
Mm-hmm.
I think people are always like, so you're gonna like do it full time, and I'm like, no, I just really love what I'm doing right now. Like, I love building a business and having time for that. I love talking about it on podcasts and like speaking to people about it and like writing about it, like for my personal projects. I'm not looking for a next step. I just think to keep pushing it, to keep producing the content, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't see it going anywhere. And I think the more that the game continues to grow, I don't think people are going to lose interest in learning about kind of what's going on behind the scenes, or what it really like to be a fan, or that content isn't really going to die out. It's always going to be kind of something that people want to read about.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think everything you've said, literally, like all these answers that you're giving, it all comes back to that idea of supporting Arsenal women
Yeah,
and the fan base and how it carries it. Because, yeah, we want to have a little Gooner fanzine because I think it looks cool, like to even just put on your wall or just to have on your table like a little ornament. It's given that retro feel, but that's come from the fans. When you look at all the shirts, I know After Studios, they're really good with obviously
yeah,
creating lots of branding of t-shirts. That's come from the fans. And I think even with the marches, all the walks and everything pre-match, that's all from the fan. Like, everything is from the fans at Arsenal, and I feel like that definitely, going back to what's so special about this fan base. I think I've just answered my own question. That is
yeah,
what separates Arsenal from other clubs, because the fans aren't just there to watch the game; they're there to actually impact the game positively.
yeah,
And that leads me nicely, because you're impacting games so positively, but not even just the obviously just Arsenal women. You're impacting the whole of the WSL as a whole, with obviously your organisation beyond the pitch. I just sort of like it's obviously the name is very self-explanatory. I feel like because it's more about what is happening off the pitch. Like, it's more than just, right, what is this? It is literally that impact. But how did the name come about? When did it come about? I'm pretty sure the handle on Instagram is 2024, like Beyond the Pitch 2024.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's still within the last couple of years you probably thought up this idea. But yeah, I just sort of want to know how it all started.
Yeah, I always try and tell this story concisely, but as you've guessed from the rest
It's
of
not
the
going to
podcast,
happen. I'll give you 5 minutes.
yeah, just the whole rest of the podcast episode is just going to be me, but I will try and summarize it a little bit. So obviously I mentioned to you like I loved writing and the analytics and I came into it through Arsenal Women, but I refuse to do anything half-hearted. And I just noticed when there's a problem, I'm like, could I solve it? So I was like, I probably can't solve the whole problem, but I can contribute to trying to solve it. And I think a lot of the times problems kind of can be solved by each other, or you can kind of, I hate the saying, but kill two birds with one stone. And the two biggest issues that I noticed when I came into the women's football sphere, especially writing, was the lack of content on these issues, the lack of people covering them, the lack of media outlets set up directly to promote those players' stories, the hard hitting issues, the journeys that to get to where they are today, but also opportunities. I mean, you'll probably vouch when you come in and you try and say, try and get that first opportunity. You get same with getting a job. You get the cliche, you need this much years of experience. It's like, but how can I get those experience
It's such
without
a weird cycle, isn't it?
it's an endless loop and you're like this doesn't make sense, and saw so many people that I was connecting with on LinkedIn and online saying, you know, I just need an opportunity, and these big outlets and these big companies, as great as they are and as much as they're trying to push the game forward, they're not giving opportunities to people who are just starting out. So I was like, what if we just did it ourselves? And that's where it came about. Obviously, like you say, with the name Beyond the Pitch, it was always designed to be about those issues that were separate to, I didn't just want to do match reports, I didn't want to do the tactics bit, I was doing that elsewhere. I wanted this to be those deeper stories and those meaningful undercovered and underreported stories that were just going under like radar, and not just in the WSL. I'm talking from the grassroots to the top level, and even now, I mean, this is jumping ahead in the timeline, but we're in Australia, you know, we've got photographers in Spain, like we're pushing this across the world, not just in Europe either, which I know there's a bias for. We're trying to cover everything, and we're hoping to keep doing that for other tournaments that aren't just the Euros as well, so we can have that impact. Asia Cup's coming up soon, and we're hoping to help with that and do stuff with that. So there's so much there, but yeah, I got a few friends together who were in the sphere and was like, could we really do this? And we were like, maybe, we'll see how it goes. And now we're at this point where we're a year and a bit in, I think. So yeah, like you say, 2024, we sort of start of the year we properly started, and then in the summer we'd hit a year of actually, because a lot of it was planning process before, but we have, so I'm gonna be killed for not knowing the exact number, but we have so many, like 30 to 40 journalists just in the UK. We now have a team of 15 in Australia. This is everything: photographers, content creators, journalists, videographers. We've just joined, and we have a senior team of some of the most incredible, hardworking people. And this is not, they didn't pay me to say this, but they really are. As much as like it is really difficult to do this, like I don't think people realise like it is really hard to not know what you're doing and succeed and know, like you're learning as you go. When you know that when you set up your own thing, you're learning as you go. You don't know what you're doing, you're trying to address a million things, trying to do all these different jobs, but it is the most rewarding thing. And I think especially at the minute we're starting to see the real impact of what we've built. Like opportunities just seem to flood all at once, don't they? And you're like, whoa, like maybe this was just months of hard work finally paying off, and you get to this point where you're like, wow, like it's all led up to this. But yeah, that wasn't too long, I don't think.
That was actually, yeah, that was quite nice.
It a little bit better than I usually do.
Gives me time to to ask you some more questions about, because I feel like I can relate with the trying to get emerging people into the industry, because when I was at uni, I know we've had conversations before. I had a little startup like media company with a friend. We sort of founded it just to get uni students into it, because I did sports journalism. Everyone at my uni was doing football media basically. So it was all to try and get us into the industry, because like you said, it's so tricky. How are you meant to get a job without the experience? But you need the experience for the job, and it just seems to be all these roles that you see on LinkedIn, on job teaser, anything like that. They're all, we need 3 to 5 years experience, but then how are you meant to get it? So I think that's why it's so perfect what you're doing. But what I did realise from those, I think it was literally like a year and a half, 2 years, it's so tricky to manage everything, to have your own life as well, your own personal life, social life, to be a fan, but then also, yeah, like how are you meant to manage it all? So I'm just intrigued to see, obviously you love what you do and you physically couldn't do it if you didn't have the passion and the love for it, but how do you manage all of it, and what are the sort of challenges that you face being the founder of this upcoming organisation?
How do I manage it? I don't. No, I'm joking.
Okay,
I
cool.
just
It's the next question.
yeah, no, genuinely, like it has been a huge learning process. Like
Hmm.
I think when I started, like I said to you, like you'll agree, like you don't have any idea what to expect. Like you can plan for it, but you don't really know what it feels like day to day. You don't know how it fits in. I I used to think, oh, what a cliche when people would say, no, like 2 days are the same. No 2 days are actually the same. Like one moment you could be doing this job that needs doing. Like you basically agree to be able to do absolutely everything that the business requires. You have to basically be trained in every single department. You have to know how to post a social media post and how to make that optimized for the audience that
Hmm.
you're catering to. You have to know how to edit on TikTok. You have to know how to structure an email, how to sit in a meeting with people that you're like, I feel like I've got imposter syndrome. I shouldn't be in this meeting with these higher up people. Like I learned how to do things like paid events and stuff that I'd never done before for a business. Like I didn't even know any of this stuff, and every day I was like, I'm learning and I'm adapting. And one of the biggest changes that I made for my own sanity probably and for to make me the most happiest version of myself and to not put too much pressure on myself, because when you do I feel like you lose interest naturally, because you're
Hmm.
like, the more that I put pressure on myself and got stressed, the less likely I was to succeed in what we were doing, and the business was suffering. I built a team of my strongest people and I taught them what I knew. So I found people's strengths and what they enjoyed doing and I catered to that. So like Maisie, who is obviously one of my closest friends, is also the best at social media stuff. Like she loves that. Like that is her forte and that's not always mine. She knows how to
Hmm.
make things look a lot better than I do. And it's also admitting, isn't it, that actually not everything is my strength. Like I
Yeah.
can run this business, I can help these people get opportunities. I love doing that. I love helping people grow and develop, and I want them to leave after they've been with me on the pitch or stay with me on the pitch until they feel like they've become better and more developed in what they want to do and achieve some of the things that they had in their bucket list, like in terms of things like opportunities at, for Lionesses games, pitch side, events, things like that. But I think it's admitting these people probably might be better at it or might have more time to do it. So I kind of got them all to a level where they were really good at what they do and they really enjoyed it. And I never put too much pressure on people because at the end of the day, it's a voluntary organisation. You know, women's football's growing and developing. We're getting a few opportunities here and there. We're hoping to grow that. You always are, like you're always hoping to grow and get to a point where you could maybe bring something in and bring substantial income in, but when you're operating now on a voluntary basis, you can't say to someone, I need you to do this all day every day, because
Yeah.
it's just not feasible, it's not practical. And they do incredibly well, and we all try and do incredibly well to fit it in amongst full-time jobs, so like you say,
Hmm.
socializing, friends, family, looking after yourself. And I never put too much pressure on people if like it's voluntary, you know, if it's not, you can't get it done, like be honest, like we'll help, like we all kind of cover each other. But the biggest thing, like I know we were talking about it before, I want people to learn and develop and feel like they're not just coming in, doing a job and then going. Like I never want it to feel a bit like robotic or rigid. You know,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
all good friends, we meet up socially at games and stuff. Like it's always been about that for me in women's football, and I wanted to pass that on to what we're doing in beyond the pitch as well.
I think it's so true that what is that saying? You should never be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah,
That sort of vibe of you've always got to be learning. When you're in those meetings, obviously you shouldn't have imposter syndrome, but that is something that gets to every single person. I feel like, especially in this industry, that you're going to be having these conversations. You're like, and you're like, oh my God, how did I get here? Like, how am I in this room with this person?
yeah,
But it's so good that you're having those conversations. You're not only learning yourself, but you're helping other people to learn and everything like that. And one thing, I've done my research, I saw on your website was that you put collaboration that drives change, because there were a few points of like, what do you want to do with your company? Like, why should you work for this company? Why is this company good? And that thing, I was like, that's so true, because you're getting different collabs and that's obviously expanding out. But like one I saw recently, I'm pretty sure, I think her name's Heidi, the photographer, and I feel like that's all on my For You page right now, all on my feed on Instagram, of the obviously Nottingham, the uni, got into the FA Cup for like I think it's like the only uni to have done it this
yeah.
season. And it's so weird because I actually had a bit of a full circle moment, because I actually had one of my friends who I used to play with football at school. She's in that team, and I just messaged her. I was like, "This is so cool," but I only saw that they did that because of the amount of coverage that your company was giving it, and that's why I think it's so important. So for me, looking, I'm like, that has got to be one of my favorite collabs. But for you, obviously, you've seen so many collabs you've done, and because that is your key focus to drive that change. What is your favorite collab you've done? It's a bit of a big question,
Well, that's a huge
um,
question.
but I'm just so intrigued because I feel like you've definitely done a lot.
Yeah, I think like when you're sort of learning and like we're getting these opportunities, you kind of get your foot in the door with certain things once or twice, and then they remember you, and that's a huge part of
Mm-hmm.
like building a business, especially in women's football, because people are so like, I just think so much not easier to access, but they give you time of day more than they maybe would if you were in a different industry or in a more difficult industry. So we started working a lot with sort of communications and agency companies that would present us with opportunities we didn't know existed. Things that, like you say, you wouldn't know unless you saw. And a big
Yeah.
one with that was when we heard about the Uni of Knots thing. Honestly, the biggest credit is to Heidi for starters, because she's a photographer and she's never done videography or editing
Oh,
before,
really?
and for her to take that on and produce that, I mean, she's now set the
Mm.
blueprint for what we want to create, and I love that as well. When people do things, I'm like, that's really good. Like, we could do that. We could teach others to do that, and we could
Mm-hmm.
really use that. And that was a huge one for us, and they were great there as well. I really enjoyed the events we did with the National Lottery, sort of on the run up to the Euros. I think I'm gonna have to point that out, because that was the first time I stepped out of my comfort zone, and I did the interviews, I filmed mini mic stuff, I edited, like, I took Amy with me, and she'd never really done that. She'd done a bit for university, but never really done it properly. And we
Mm-hmm.
filmed with Vanita Asante, and we filmed with Jane Ludlow, and I'm like standing there, and I'm like, my Arsenal tattoo. I'm like, I really want to point this out, but I got to be professional. But I think,
Yeah.
like, when you do things like that, you're like you said, you don't realize, like, you don't want to feel imposter syndrome, but you don't realize how far you've come to get to this point. And they were incredible, and they showed us exactly what we needed to do. And it's about learning things that you don't even realize you need to learn. Like, we had to get certain shots, like we had to get certain things in the background. Like, this is
Mm-hmm.
all new to me, because I've always, like you say, come from like the journalist writing side. I've not come from like the media content side, but I learned how to do it quite quickly, and I loved that so much. And then we went to the big fun day, which was obviously Farrah Williams was there, and
Yeah.
a bunch of other creators were there, which were also incredible. So we did all that in kind of one weekend, and I think that stands out for me, because I'm like, it just hit me like, wow, what a cool opportunity, and it's all happening at once. And I'm driving down to Wales, and then I'm going to London, and then it was actually, I think it was can't remember what game it was, but there was a game on, a Euros game on that weekend as well. So it was all kind of happening at once. But yeah, it's just there's so much I could highlight so much, but I think it's
Mm-hmm.
like you say, with the driving changes, we don't just want to create content because it's what everyone else is doing, or it's, what is in the media. We're talking about things that you wouldn't see unless we covered it, or things that maybe you go under the radar, or we give players an opportunity. We have players now that come to us and say, could we do a little series together? Like, could we film some
That's so
content?
cool.
Like, I think that's really a sign of like, you're doing something right, or you're doing like the right kind of content if players want to work with you. And that's such a huge, like, whoa, pinch me moment,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, we've been reaching out to players for so long, and now it's coming the other way around. It's really cool.
Obviously, you mentioned your background with journalism and everything, and I think in being a journalist, like obviously we're both journalists, being credible and people liking your work is probably the biggest compliment you can get, because then you're like,
Absolutely.
oh, I'm actually doing something good, because you're seeing that, like what you've just meant, you're seeing that on so many different scales with different brands, different clubs, different players. Like, these aren't just play, these are big names and everything. So it's really good to see. And I was going to ask like what your hopes for the future, but I feel like it's just obvious. Like, everything you're saying, it just seems like you just want to keep growing, and almost there's not an end goal. Same with your writing, there's not an end goal, or oh, I'll feel really good when I get to this point, because you should be feeling good with what you're doing right now, because it's so good, like the impact and everything you're having. This is really weird, me being so complimentary
I'm
right now. I
thinking
feel like,
when we end this, you're gonna be like, oh, that was
but
awful.
anyways, I lied, so.
What a funny joke.
I feel like this is not the dynamic we're normally used to, like normally taking the mic, but like it is so good what you're doing, and I feel like that's obviously resonates with a lot of people. Like you mentioned Maisie, the Arsenal fan, like obviously it resonates with her and everything. So I think it's, yeah.
That's the
It,
clip that I'd like you to put on TikTok,
okay, cool.
please.
Should I just send it to her personally?
And
I'll just be
I'll
like, by
send
the
you
way,
some pictures to put over the top of her in various Arsenal scarves and stuff. That would be perfect.
that was actually one of my favourite, because one of my friends, she supports Chelsea and I support Arsenal as well.
Mhm.
Her name's actually Chelsea, funnily enough. So I feel like she kind of was forced into supporting Chelsea. But whenever we go to games, it's so funny, because obviously there's always that rivalry, which I love having that between like friends. But
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure you did a video of Maisie,
Yeah,
of, I can't remember the exact wording of it, but I sent it to her and I was like, oh my God, this is like you when I drag you to the games, or me when she drags me to games. Like, it's so
yeah,
fun, but that's something that I feel like you can do with the women's game that you can't really with
yeah.
other games, you know. So something different. But obviously, I want to focus more. Like I feel like we've spoken about your journey and everything, which I'm very, very excited for. I'm gonna obviously still be your number one fan, or probably like number 10, because I feel like you've got a few people that are tapping you on the shoulder ahead of
You're
me.
gonna have to be behind the guy in Benfica who tapped me
Yeah,
on the
that's
shoulder. There was
fine.
somebody in the pub once that I think they probably came at the wrong time because that was actually after many drinks and a very big victory. So I'm not sure if we actually
Yeah.
had a competent conversation, but there's a few people in the list. So I'll probably put you
Okay.
out fifth.
Okay,
Um,
that's fine. I'll settle for fifth. That's
I'm
actually
not sure I'm
okay.
on your list because I'm yet to praise you in this
Yes,
podcast. Shall I set
that's
up a
kind of rude.
podcast so you can come on my podcast and I'll
Yeah,
praise you? I'm
but
gonna have to
just have it
speak
as a
to
one
you.
episode thing, so I'm like
Okay,
your only guest, and then it's
just
actually
yeah,
perfect.
it's
So
actually just a one-off. Yeah.
that would honestly be amazing. But obviously, yeah, I'm excited for your journey and everything like that. But I want to focus what you talk about a lot with obviously the tactics, the analysis, everything like that on our current squad because honestly, Daisy, I feel like there's so many questions with Arsenal winning right now. I feel like we went through it a lot at the start of last season with
Yeah.
Jonas Deval. Obviously, you were saying you were writing about it. People were writing Jonas out on walls. Like we had a lot of going on, but I kind of liked that heat in the women's game. It had a bit more passion. Then I felt like it's sort of Slegers took over, and we were like, oh, okay, interesting. And then suddenly we ended up winning like the best, in my opinion, the best trophy you can win. Something that no other English club has done in the women's game. So it's
Drop
something
that
that
in
we
again.
we
Drop that in.
mention a lot because it's our bragging rights. But that feels like it's the only bragging rights. And I feel like my question for you is how long can we rely on our history with the domestic cups? Because right now, the only thing obviously we can rely on is the European success that we've got. But that was only last year. But I just feel like with the league, it's just not, something's not clicking. But I'm like, how long can we actually rely on that?
The mood has gone from here to
Yeah, sorry, I don't really know how to,
we
maybe.
have to do it. No, we have to do it, don't we? Because I do think there's such an elephant in the room, and I try to
Mhm.
be not when especially when I'm doing the Gooner because I think we do a lot of obviously it's Arsenal based. Like when I'm on podcasts where it's Arsenal based, I'm allowed to sit there and just talk about Arsenal. But I'm always in
Yeah.
a time crunch. Even when I'm writing a piece, I'm like I can't go on forever. Like if we were to actually sit down and break down what was wrong with this Arsenal team, we would probably need a whole episode dedicated to it. So I'm gonna try. I always try my best to summarize it as best as I can to how I see it. But you make 100% valid points. We can't rely on the success that we've seen in the
Mhm.
past, and we can't rely on winning a Champions League because as much as that achievement should never be understated, it was incredible, and what we did was incredible. We built a squad and we built a tactics and a system that was designed under the circumstances. So when Renee Sagers comes in, she's already under pressure. She can't lose a game. She can't rotate because she needs the strongest side, and
Mhm.
essentially she needs to win across two legs because what was happening in the league we'd already written off. We'd already said, well, we're too far behind now, which we do every single year, but we're doing it again
True.
this year. But um, under the circumstances, she got a bit of a get out of jail free card because no matter what she did, I think in the time that she was there, obviously you didn't expect it to be a Champions League trophy, but whatever she did, she would have gotten sort of away with it because we would have said,
Mhm.
well, we'll give her another season and we'll see what happens. She obviously exceeded expectations, then that set the sort of expectations that we had to here. So when we come into this season, we're going right. We should be able to win the Champions League again. We should be able to win the league. We should be able to win the cups. We should be able to do it all. And as Arsenal, we always should. But I think Renee built a system that was designed for that, and now she's having to do it again. But the system that
Mhm.
she's trying to operate with doesn't effectively work for producing high scoring games like she did last season. It doesn't work for completely, we won 1-0 against Brighton. We won 5-0 last season. Like things have changed, and we've designed a system that's built to win those knockout legs, to win the second leg, to go and take them on.
Yeah.
And you're almost looking at the WSL thinking, when is or the couple thinking, when is the second leg? But there isn't really a second leg effectively. Obviously we played
Literally.
twice, but you know what I mean. Like I think the system has to change. And when we talk about on the Gooner at the minute, I sit there and I'm like, right, we need to fix the fact we're not scoring. We need to get the ball higher up. We need a better midfield
Mhm.
balance. We need Leah Williamson back in defence. We need to use the substitutions more. And Tim did a recent piece that basically was like, what are the questions that Arsenal need to answer in this next block? And he discussed those as the three things. He said basically there's too much space between the back line and the front line.
Mhm.
We don't use the squad as well as we should. And obviously we need to be firing on all fronts. And I think that is effectively it. If I was to summarise it, I would say that how we fix that I wish I knew.
It's a
I
big
don't know if you
question, isn't
I
it?
don't know if you have any thoughts on that because like obviously when you're talking about it, you can't ignore the fact that Arsenal aren't performing at that level.
Mhm.
Sort of, I'm flipping the question back to you because I'm actually intrigued because I love
Glad
hearing
I'm not prepped for this.
I don't have my notes, sorry. But yeah, like I don't know, like some everyone sees it differently. Like people bring up new points to me, and they're like, maybe this is why we're not succeeding. And I'm like,
Hmm.
maybe it's such a big thing. Like I don't think I think Chelsea get the job done, but I don't think they've been like the most incredible team to watch. I still think that with
No.
Arsenal men, like at times when you watch, you're like, yeah, you get the points, and that's all you need to win the league. And it's the same effectively with Chelsea women. They find a way to win.
Hmm.
They always look pretty doing it. No, but they do it, and Arsenal don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't look pretty and we don't get the win. So what's the issue there? Lots to discuss. But I am interested to hear your thoughts because I like hearing different perspectives about it.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, firstly, everything you literally just said, this is why I love like picking your brain and why I love reading your Substack. I feel like you just perfectly sold why people should read it because it's just your thoughts. And I never really thought, oh yeah, she was basically an emergency like emergency formation she basically put in place to be
Yeah.
like, right, we've got to do this, and it obviously worked. And I do feel like we've gone to the season. I feel like I've been part of the delusional fan base where I'm like, oh my god, we've just won this. Like, if we can win against Barcelona and Chelsea always suffer against them, why can't we do it? But I just think, as a whole, the WSL this season, this might be a little bit controversial, but I just feel like it hasn't been as exciting as
Hmm.
recent years. I think United have probably been one of the
Yeah.
most exciting sides, which is sort of weird because I kind of wrote them off. I was like, it's going to be City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and I didn't really think too much about United. And then obviously with like Grace Clinton, Jess Park, them switching clubs, I was like, oh, why would you want to move to United? And now I'm like, right, I'm gonna shut up because I feel like they've been very exciting. Like you said with Chelsea, they've not been glamorous at all, but you don't need to be. They're getting the points, and it does feel like they should get a draw soon. Their luck's got to run out. I mean, if we're comparing it to the men's game, Liverpool in the league right now,
Mhm.
they basically started off the season getting so many last minute winners, and we were like, is this sustainable? Obviously, in their last like 4 or 5 losses, it turns out it's not,
Yeah.
and I feel like that could come for Chelsea. But I think focusing on Arsenal, yeah, what can I think to fix it? I just feel like there's maybe too much rotation. Like one thing that Slegers had last season, I felt like we knew who was starting, we knew who was coming on as those game changers. It's one thing that I love looking at Wiegman. This is kind of going off, but I love looking at Serena Wiegman's England squad because she's so stubborn in her ways, and we know that doesn't work for a lot of managers, but it works with her because you know when these players are coming on. We know that in the 22 Euros, Russo and Toom were the game changers. The Euros just gone. We know that Adjuman was that game changer, so we know that formation. Whereas I feel like I look at Slegers and I'm like, I don't even know who's going to start. I don't know if Olivia Smith is going to be on the bench. Obviously, right
Yeah.
now she probably will be, which is really sad for us. Big loss. But then I'm like, oh, is Chloe Kelly going to start? Because we probably need to be starting her. And I just feel like there's so many, and we can't blame it on injuries. Like we literally can't, because if you even look at Lee Williamson being out, that is a big loss. But why is that a big loss? Because we're playing Steph Catley, who is not a centre back, as a centre back, and I feel like that was the makeshift of why she did it. And you can just tell when she plays the ball, she wants to be on the wing. It's not as smooth as a Katie Reid, and I think that's why she's impressed everyone. So, in answer to your question, I don't know how, like, I genuinely don't know how we're meant to fix it, and I feel like no one's got the answers, which is even more worrying because we're going into these big games. We've got Chelsea coming up. We've also got loads of competitions we're fighting on, and I feel like we should be knowing. We should be knowing how to fix this problem. I think, to be honest, it's probably just consistency,
Yeah.
and we need to actually want it. Like you were saying, the ball's not really getting in the final third, or when it is, no one's actually attacking it, no one actually wants it. Russo does a lot of work off the ball, but we need to be seeing her scoring on the ball. So it's just I feel like it's a very tricky dynamic.
I love that you used the example of Wiegman because I actually used that in the Gooner last week because I said
No,
like
I didn't actually read that, so that's really weird.
I think
Sorry,
with
I am your fan though.
yeah, I'm a big fan, but I didn't watch it. No,
Sorry.
I do think you're right because I used this as an example because I think it works in a competition like a European Championship, and it also
Mm.
works in things like the Champions League. If you get through the initial, obviously now it's different because it's this adapted league phase that's
Yeah,
changed
I
things.
quite like it though. The
I
second
love
chance.
the excitement, like I do, but I don't think I think the blueprint does work if you put that side and you get consistency and you have these substitutions that can impact in in the Champions League, especially going into the knockout rounds. As we
Yeah.
saw against Lakers, you can do it over two legs. You can do it, and it worked across the league. It doesn't work the same because if you like the teams like Brighton, Villa, even any team in the WSL, they now know what Arsenal are going to do, and they I don't.
Yeah.
I think if you don't adapt that, if you don't, not necessarily with personnel, but with, I think people get mixed up when we say stuff like we want to change. It's not always about who's on the pitch. It's about what we do on the pitch.
Mhm.
And I think Benfica, when I talked about it on the Gooner, that was the closest I'd seen to Renee Slager's new system or adapted system working. And I think inviting pressure and freeing like Mariona in midfield and having a
Mhm.
drive and then obviously switching it worked really, really well. And I think the only thing that was missing was we had the wrong kind of player in Beth Mead out wide when we could have had someone like Chloe Kelly or Caitlin Ford who, I mean, can drive with the ball then we would have created chances and we would have created goals and we probably would
Mhm.
have won that game 3-4-0, not a narrow 2-0, one of it being set piece. So the problem definitely, the system definitely has potential. I think if we were looking at it
Mhm.
like optimistically, you would say that. And I don't think you can look at it and say it's not working at all because it is. You know, we have got results, we have seen positive glimpses, we've got like the strengths that we can use of like Olivia Smith, we can get Russo potentially more involved in the build up play for now until we get Williamson back. Then you may be beneficial to have someone like Ajiman back in the squad after Christmas.
Mhm.
And people maybe think that's a bit
Imagine
wild.
that.
I actually don't think that's a wild shout at all because I think if you look at what Renée Slegers needs, she ticks all those boxes and she probably
Mhm.
would play. And it is not like, oh, it's just Leah Williamson, all of our problems will be solved. But people forget how much she does. Not, I think we noticed it in England, the England game as well. Like just the ability to, I saw May Letizia on many occasions driving through the midfield and Esme Morgan with the ball, like literally running the length of the pitch, and I thought if Leah Williamson was here, that final ball, that final pass or the final shot would be
Yeah.
executed and we probably would have created chances. And same with Arsenal. If you fix that problem of being able to distribute the ball further across the pitch. I think Renee tried to fix it with Lotte Moy, but then expected her to also defend Bonnie Shaw at the same time. So it's like, you
Yeah.
know, honestly, this is why I say you could just keep going in a loop of why it's not working. But you get a player like Leah Williamson back in there who can distribute the ball, who's defensively solid. No reflection on Katie Reid, by the way, who's been phenomenal. It's
Mhm.
just about playing to the strengths of the system, and I think Cooney Cross needs to settle in that side, which I think she did at Benfica. We saw a bit of highlights of that. And I also think playing Mariona in the 10 benefited her as well. And we kept coming back to this point of playing to players' strengths, right? Like playing to what they're good at and not expecting like Beth Mead to be this wide winger that drives at players. Why we got Taylor Hines running there? Like it
Yeah.
just feels at times like we're not actually fitting the system to the players. We're just kind of saying, right, you're fit and available, so you need to do this for me. But it actually doesn't suit you at all to do that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, we could go on all day, and I think people don't realize that because I'm
Mhm.
missing out about a million points in doing this. But you kind of this is why Renee Slaker is probably sitting there this international break with a whiteboard, writing down 300 different things that she's noticed.
Literally.
People are expecting her to come in the next game and have it all figured out, and I'm like, that's not kind of how football works. And you compared it to Liverpool men. I saw that Slot said teams have figured out how to play against us, and we need to sort that, or we need to figure that out.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what I think's happened with Arsenal women. It's great. The system we had last year worked for the Champions League. It isn't working against teams that know what we're like, and we're not breaking them down. We're not playing to players' strengths, and we're not playing the right players at the right time. But I'm not the manager. And maybe I should give it a go, and then people can say, "Oh,
Add
Daisy, you
that
were
to your CV, honestly.
Daisy, you were wrong, and you didn't know what to do, and you didn't win the Champions League or the league. So actually, everything you said is a lie." So, yeah, we only see a small piece of it as well. Like what
Mhm.
happens behind the scenes in training, managing player injuries, but know how many minutes people can or can't play. Like there's so much more to it, and I think people just see it as, oh, well, we're losing and it's really bad, which is fair as a fan. Like you don't want to lose, but it's a very difficult thing,
Mhm.
and give it time. Like I'm not going to stand here and say trust the process, but trust the process because
Trust the
clearly,
company.
clearly, eventually, it can work out. I don't, and people saying Slager's out. I don't want to talk to you guys. Like
I
time.
think football fans are so fickle. That is a word that I feel like everyone uses because it's like we're so tribal. We're like, oh my god, we're all for this club. Something goes wrong, we're like, oh. Like I do feel like it's maybe that's why, going back to my statement earlier that the WSL isn't as exciting. I think it's because the WSL thrives quite heavily on fan bases, and obviously we know Arsenal has one of the biggest ones. And because of the atmosphere, that's what's going on the pitch. It's creating a bit of a weird negative atmosphere. And I'm like, you know what? Like you said, there are so many glimpses of hope and so many moments that I'm like, this is good football. But because maybe the results aren't quite working out, or we're conceding before we then score like 5 goals, it's sort of a bit like, where's your energy at? And for me, obviously, like I agree with everything you're saying with all the ins and out tactics, but I feel like because I got into the women's game through being 10 years old, not knowing all the tactics, just knowing the vibe, I feel like I'm very much a vibe person.
Yeah.
I just feel like right now there's something that's off. Like we're conceding first, which is a worry for me, because I'm like, right, we're not in it. Like our head's not in the game, and I feel like that passion and all these things like that. Yes, they're only a small part of it, but if you've not got the right mindset, or if you're not in a system that you're liking, then you're going to act out, because like you said, it's not down to what players are on the pitch, it's down to how they're playing and interacting with each other, and something's just not quite clicking. We've got all these great names, these big signings we've made, record breaking deals, and it's like, is that too much pressure? Is our history too much pressure on them? Because we were underdogs at the Champions League, no one saw us winning, and then we sort of just swept through, like snuck through and ended up winning it. Now we're sort of, all eyes are always on us in the WSL. We're getting Chelsea fans hating on us all the time. Like I feel like it is, yeah, it's a big question of how do you fix it, and I think we don't know, and we're not Slegers to know that, and it's good that we're able to have our opinions, because I feel like it shows that people are invested in the game, but also it is so tricky when, like you said, we literally are not her, so it's a very tricky dynamic. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to say on the current squad
No, I
as a
just think it
whole.
is. I think you're right. I think it is mindset, but I think when you're in it, and Renee always talks about blocks. I don't know if you've noticed, like all the press conferences, she's always like, in this block, we're going to do this, and these people are going to play. And she sees it very much strategically in that sense. So when we're in it and we're halfway through it, and we've got a few games left to go, and it's not going well, and the mindset is off, it's not a case of I don't think there's an expectation that the next game it will be fixed. But when you have a break and then we're going into the biggest block of all, surely this is the opportunity to fix the mindset, to
Mm-hmm.
change, to actually sit down and think, not, Chelsea, and I think it was Emma Hayes that said about when she was at Chelsea that you can't make everybody happy. No one is. You're never going to have a squad where every player is
Yeah.
happy and fully content. It's about managing those emotions. It's about building a squad that is together. I think Serena Wiegman does that extremely well. She's managed to make everybody feel involved no matter what. If you can build that in club football, you can probably succeed. I think Manchester United are showing glimpses of that, but I think the reason for that is they have a smaller squad, and at times it is easier mindset wise. Longevity of managing games is going to be a problem for them, and we'll see how that impacts their Champions League. One, like people say, people talking about Arsenal men as well. I watched it on Sky Sports. It was like one key injury to your system. What do you do? One of your key players, like if you
Mm-hmm.
lost Gabrielle or Rice, what would you do? And the same with, I think, like if you look at Manchester United, like if they lost May Letitia, Tullis Joyce, they lost a key component of their midfield.
Mm-hmm.
Would it all go away? Would they lose everything because they don't have the squad to just slot somebody in and say do this instead? And there is serious questions to be asked if this block that we don't see an improvement, if we don't see certain
Mm-hmm.
players playing, because what was recruitment for? Like what everything fits together. It's a whole system, it's a whole cog, and it's problematic if we're seeing problems like the wrong recruitment in the summer, even though it was under Rene, or players not getting game time, even though we need that kind of player in the system. There's so much
Mm-hmm.
like but I think this is a chance to reset, to brainstorm for Rene to figure out what she needs to do, and players have an opportunity. They come off international break, right? Let's actually go now and show. And in that block, obviously, is Chelsea. What a statement that would be. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would happily forget about this previous block if we went in as I predicted in the Gooner and won the 5 games, one of which was Chelsea, and we did really well in that block. We'd
Mm-hmm.
probably be like the whole vibe would change in the fan base, just like it did at the end of last season. Think about the start of the season. We didn't want to go. We hated it. Like the pub was really boring. Like there was not many people going. Like people stopped going. And I spoke to someone who I knew and was like, he was like, I think people are going to stop coming because like there's going to be a drop in attendance. And I said, Rennie will turn it around. And what we saw then was the highs. Coming down from the highs is difficult. You're not going to have that same feeling you did in Lisbon when you're playing Leicester away. You're not going to have that. Like
Yeah.
you have to realise that. But we have to keep going. We have to keep showing up at the games. We have to keep supporting them. But we also want to see progress as well. We want to see like the changes. We want to see the positive impact. We want to see a refreshed mindset coming into this new block, because an excuse for the first block is fine, but continuously across blocks across the season, that's problematic, and no wonder we're going to be
Mm-hmm.
frustrated.
No, literally, completely echo it all. I think I worded in my podcast last week, I was like, this is where we see which Arsenal fans are actually loyal,
Yeah.
because this is the moment where I think if you're an Arsenal women's fan, like, you've grown up with that success. You've even seen European success maybe happen twice if you're lucky, but usually just the one time, obviously last year. And I feel like we've seen that success and we've almost become like demanding of it, like, oh, we expect this is going to happen every season. And then
Mhm.
when things start to drop a little bit, it's like everyone's like, oh, well, they're really bad. And it's like, well, no. And I think what we're literally talking about, there is still that hope. You're saying you trust Slegers. I completely trust Slegers. Like, anyone that's saying Slegers out, honestly, just stop talking. Like, don't watch this video, because I hate when
Don't
people
subscribe. Don't like.
literally, I don't even want you.
Don't care.
No, because honestly, I'm just like, we need to. I feel like so many other clubs are already being negative about us, already writing us off. So why are we going to turn on our own and be
Mhm.
literally like, oh yeah, we don't like Arsenal? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But I do understand that football is very tribal, and hopefully, what you're saying, things start to turn around in this next block. You're feeling confidence against Chelsea. I don't know how I'm feeling. I feel like I'm a bit mixed. I feel like because it's home, we've sold like 50,000 tickets already. I feel like it's going to be probably our biggest game of the season. Well, before Christmas, anyways. Just quickly before we move on to the last part of the episode, what is your score prediction for that Chelsea game? Because this episode will come out literally like a week before it happens.
I think with the mindset thing, that probably would cement it for me. Like if we were to go in that game, because I think we went away last season and obviously traumatized by the fact that we conceded that penalty and McCabe was sent off. But we
So
played
stupid.
well and we took them to. We went toe to toe with them. Like we really did. I didn't think we were as
Mm-hmm.
good at the Emirates, but we did to go toe to toe with them away, and that was under Slegers, obviously. So I am intrigued. This is the hardest one to predict. But if we don't go into that
Mm-hmm.
game with the mindset that we can win and we're not in a positive way, if we lose games before that, if we're not our head's not in the right place, we will lose that game. It's that simple because Chelsea love to capitalise on a weak Arsenal.
Yeah.
Remember when we had the sock gate and we were all over the place. We were wearing Chelsea socks and we had no chance of ever winning that game once that happened. If we go in with that mindset, we're not going to win. But if we win a few games before, I think we can narrowly win. I think we can do this by a 1-0 or a 2-1, 100%. But
Mm-hmm.
if we lose games prior, I would probably go into it and say Chelsea will take advantage of that, punish us, and we'll be 3-1 down. So I'm not gonna sit on the fence because I do think obviously it depends on what happens over the next few games, but
Yeah.
that's how I see it going. We can win if we're in the right headspace. We
Mm-hmm.
can be heavily defeated if we're not.
Mhm. No, definitely. I think that's why mindset is so important. And as much as I'm always like, oh, just go with vibes, I feel like it's actually, you've got to have the right vibe because, like you said, Sockgate, we're not repeating that. Please, we need the kit person to actually bring the right kit. Like, we don't want to get off on the back foot because not only will that haunt us in that game, affect the league, but also we're still talking about it now. We're still seeing things on socials about it. I 100% think that Chelsea will probably pop that one up again. So we need to just make sure that yes, we've got the Champions League, and that's something we're like, not even Chelsea, like they're not going to sing about that, but we need to obviously be doing a bit more, hopefully. But like you say, it is turning around. I just want to end the episode. I always do it. It's literally like my seventh time doing this. But I always do it with like a little game or something. And I basically it's just this or that, like sort of a would you rather. I've just got like five things, and you've just got a quick fire, or in your case, monologue it. Like you can yap forever. Just tell me which one you'd rather, basically, like this or that.
Yeah.
So the first one, Arsenal to win the WSL or Champions League this season.
This is so. I love these ones because we did this like what would you rather of the four when we were doing the Gooner. And last
Mm-hmm.
season we were like, oh, the Champions League. And we were like, nah. And then we were joking, and then we actually did it. The
You
Champions
might
League.
predict it again
I'm
then.
gonna say the Champions League because I want more days like what we had. I don't think I don't. Obviously, I don't want Chelsea to win the league, nor do I want Man United to win the league. But to go back to back as Champions League winners and
Mm-hmm.
defeat Chelsea in the process would be like
That would
I
be unreal if
but
we
I
could
don't
do
want to
that.
put myself through the stress of not in the final, please. Please not Chelsea Arsenal final ever. I will have to not be
I
on the
feel like a
final.
lot of people want that final, and I was like, no, because we're either all be crying or we'll literally just be crying because we're happy. Like we'll be crying no matter what. So,
I enjoyed watching them get beat by Barcelona in the pub prior
hmm
to the second no, yeah, the second leg in Lyon. I would like that again.
they were good moments.
Champions League. I was quite quick with that one actually.
Yeah, that
I
was
was
quite quick.
expecting me to be like, oh, maybe this, maybe that.
No, literally. This one, it's sort of. I feel like you're going to be a bit torn. It's sort of what you were saying just then. So Arsenal win the WSL and Chelsea win the Champions League, or neither team wins anything this season.
Neither team wins anything. 100%.
Hmm. I'd be
I
the exact same.
Chelsea cannot win the Champions League in my lifetime. I refuse to do it. I just can't. I just think that is it for me because when they have that, they have everything to sing about. So I will prevent
It's
at
true.
all costs. If it means we have to play Chelsea, and this is separate to the question, but if it means we have to play Chelsea in the final to stop them winning it, I will put
Hmm.
myself through the anxiety. But I wouldn't. I mean, look, even the Conti Cup gives me like heart palpitations. Let alone having to watch
Oh
Arsenal
my
beat
god,
Chelsea in the
imagine.
Champions League. I'd have to hide under a pillow the whole. That'd probably be there in person, so I probably wouldn't have a pillow. I'd probably have to hide behind the seat. Hopefully not in Benfica because it'll be
Hopefully
broken.
not a broken one, but
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully it's not that stadium. We'll be in the gods, so I'll be able to see if we've scored or not. But yeah,
yeah.
easy one that one. I feel like
You
you
know
agree
what?
as well.
I'd have to agree with that, but I think Arsenal winning the league is something we've got to do in the next couple of seasons, or we're just going to slowly be forgotten in the league, in the
Third
history of
option:
it.
Arsenal win the league and Chelsea win nothing.
Yeah. Okay, we'll
Great.
just go with that. So this or that, yeah, Chelsea or
This
that.
or that or the other thing.
I feel like these are all sort of based off Chelsea, but this next one sort of adds a different rivalry.
Okay.
I can't imagine you actually wanting to answer this one. This or that, wear a Chelsea scarf to a game or a Spurs hat. I know you love a hat. I feel like I always see you with your backwards cap. Which one are you going for?
I'm having a Chelsea. I feel like I have worn a Chelsea scarf to. So
Wow.
I feel like there's
You've
probably
just
an
said that with
image.
your chest. That
There's
is crazy.
probably an image of no, because they like to take images of me doing things and use that against me, like I do with Maisie. But um, yeah, that's a. I feel like that. I don't want to do either, but that's the easier option. I don't want to do Spurs anything. I thought you were going to say something like Spurs to win something, and I was like, good joke. But
Yeah,
that
imagine.
you couldn't put Spurs win something because that just won't happen. But yeah,
No.
I'm gonna go Chelsea scarf.
Okay.
Don't find the pictures and comment them, guys. Don't do that.
Yeah, literally. Put it down in the
Put them
comments
in the
below.
description. Any pictures you've got,
If
Daisy
you're
in a
watching on
Spurs hat.
YouTube, just yeah.
No problem.
Okay, and the final one, it's sort of throwback to when you were playing at school and everything.
Mhm.
If you had the chance to play with one of these players, Kim Little or Kelly Smith?
I feel like the people of the Arsenal community are going to hate me for not saying Kelly Smith, but I'm going to go Kim Little. I love those kind of players. I've already said I loved
Hmm.
Van der Donk. I love. I'm just a sucker for some midfielders. I just love it, and I feel like Kimmy
100%.
now, like watching Kimmy, like even to this day, I'm like, why is she still the best player on the pitch? Like, I just
That's what I'm
miss. I feel
saying.
like Kelly. If Kelly Smith had been around today, though, if we just slotted her in that Arsenal side, we'd be all right. But you don't
We
really
win the
get to see much of
quadruple.
her on TV, and that's a robbery for her because imagine her in today's like as incredible as she was with today's recognition. I mean, people would be going crazy about it.
Yeah.
So it's just a shame that she didn't get as much like airtime and attention as she probably
Mm.
deserved. But I've grown up kind of just after that and watched more of Kimmy. But I'll just have a
Yeah.
team. I'll just have a team of them all.
I
I
was
feel
gonna
like I'm
say,
losing
let's
track
just
of this game. I'm just picking everything.
yeah, you're actually just like, yeah, cool, let's just pick the
I'll
third
have
option, which
both.
doesn't
And you're like,
exist.
have both. And you're like, that's not how the game
I'm
works. I'm
like,
like,
not
okay,
quite.
not
To be
quite.
fair, I grew up and the first player obviously I saw was Kelly Smith, the number 10. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, I want to get a number 10 shirt. So I got one. I think it was an England one though. And then now when I'm watching Kim Little, because Kim Little was back when I was watching it, she was so young in the squad. Then she went over to, pretty sure it was America. And then she came back to Arsenal. And now I'm like, she is my ultimate favourite player because she's so nostalgic. So I'd have to agree with you, but can't deny Kelly Smith. Like honestly,
Oh,
playing with either of them would be crazy. I'd just let them do that. I just kick the ball to them and they can do their thing.
imagine with Kim though, you'd be like, I have to be the best because she's just gonna be 10 out of 10 every week. Like I couldn't slack once. Like especially if I
Literally.
was with her in that midfield, like being now, even now, being Mariana Caldente or Farina Malm or whoever it is, Cooney Cross, I'd be like, I must be on it 100% because she
Hmm.
always is. I saw her shouting at Steph at the City game, and I'm thinking, I wouldn't want to be.
You
She's
don't want
like,
to be on the
it's
receiving
like
end of that.
it's not even a case of like anger. It's like, oh my God, Kim Little's disappointed in me. Like I
Yeah.
can't possibly go on. Like that's how I see it.
It's
I
like I'm
thought
not
also,
angry. I'm
yeah,
disappointed.
I also thought you were going to do a quiz, so I was prepared to be like embarrassed about my lack of knowledge.
So, see,
Help
actually,
me
you know
on this.
what? We probably should have ended this like an hour ago, this episode. But on that, my pet peeve, my biggest hate is quizzes, because
Mm.
if I say I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm an Arsenal fan. I don't want you
Yeah,
to test whether I know the blood type of this player or this
yeah,
player's surname or what kid belongs to this or the dog. I don't care. I just support Arsenal, and I think that's one thing that what I like about the women's game is not everyone needs to know the knowledge, and I hope it sort of stays like that. Like if you know all the ins and outs, that's really cool. But if you don't, you're still just as much as of a fan. And
oh
I think
definitely.
that's one thing, like with quizzes, I would never on this quiz it because it's all about opinions. For me, it's all about the vibe. And also, linking to Kim Little just then, I feel like what you were saying with her passion and, oh my God, if she's annoyed at you, like you're like, oh my God, the world's over. I think we need to have that passion in all 11 people on the pitch. Right now, it feels like Kim Little's the only one driving that passion. And I'm like, right, someone else has got to take over at some point as well. I think Leah Williamson was obviously very good at that as well. And obviously, missing her on the pitch, she was very vocal. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it works. But in terms of the vibe, they've definitely got to get Kim Little back. Um, I don't know, leading, like influencing everyone,
Yeah.
basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. Last time we saw that was probably the final when we saw all 11 players on the pitch in the
Hmm.
Champions League final. I feel like everyone was just on the same wavelength. Like, obviously, it's a
Yeah,
final, you will be. You can't do that every single week, but a little bit more of that would be great from every single person. We're not asking for
honestly.
much, guys. If you're watching, we love you and we know you try really hard, but could you just like put a tiny, tiny bit more? Tiny bit more passion.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. To be fair, hats off to all of them for what they're doing and everything, because I think
Incredible.
playing in the elite game, obviously what Slegers is doing, she's created history in her first season. I'm like, how do you beat that? It's
Yeah.
sort of what like we were saying Arne Slot did in his first season with Liverpool. He created history, and then it's like, oh, okay, now you've set the bar so high, we're expecting her to reach it. So I think, you know, we've got to give her credit where it's due, but
Absolutely.
hopefully things turn around. I feel like we probably could yap for another like hour and a half. But
Is
I
that what the
don't want
people
to.
want? I'm not sure.
You don't
I'm not
what?
sure. I'm not sure the people want another hour and a half
Yeah,
from me and you.
that's what I'm thinking.
Mm.
It's a bit annoying probably. So thank you so much for joining. I just want to end it by like obviously you mentioned Beyond the Pitch, you mentioned your Substack, everything like that. Just tell me all of it, and then I'll add it all in the description below on YouTube. Because I think it would be great for people to join. I don't know. Can people just join Beyond the Pitch? Is there a process or anything like that?
Yeah, so there is a form on the website. I mean, I'll probably the best thing to do is link the link tree because you can see the website and the socials on there, and it's so much easier than having to try and find everything on an individual
Perfect.
platform. But there is a form a contact form that's on the website now that goes straight to my email. So if you're ever interested in even being involved, I can't say that we can always accept 100% requests, otherwise we would probably
Mhm.
have a team of about 600, which as you can see in my busy schedule probably doesn't work, but yeah, honestly, please reach out. Even if you've got a story, I feel like people see it as just jobs. Like, no, like if you've got a story to share, like we've told, or one of the I didn't mention this at the time, but we did a story about an incredible like South Asian player who was just trying to make it as a footballer, and she reached out and
Mhm.
was like, "Can you tell my story?" She then wrote back to us and was like, "Oh, by the way, I now play for a team," and I was like, "Oh," like she's like, "Thank you for sharing the story. Like, it helped me so much with my confidence, and I managed to get into this team where I live and like play like a professional as a professional player. So please, if you have a story,
That's
like
so
reach
good.
out to me on the form. It's on the website under contact us. And I'm such a people pleaser, so I probably will reply to every single person. Um, so yeah, if I don't ever reply to you, send another one because I will eventually reply to you.
Or just tap her on the shoulder when she's 7 pints deep, and
Yeah.
then she'll
You
answer you
can
then,
usually find
definitely.
me in either the coronet or the Tolly
Yeah.
on a match day or at some random pub in Crawley. So, you're probably going to find, if Arsenal are there, I'm probably also there. So you can also just bombard me in person and then I definitely can't ignore you because you're right behind me. So
That is
that's
very
another way
true.
to do it. Substack as well, I can link, that's so much easier. But it's
Mhm.
free to subscribe and it always will be. Like I the paid option is there, but that is purely just because yeah, I mean it's never encouraged. It's just a bonus that I do try and put on there as well. But yeah, I try and make everything free because I'm like content like this should be available to everybody everywhere.
Mhm.
And be engaged in the Substack as well. I love replying to comments. Like, I have a few people now that comment on most of them. I'm like, so basically the discussion that we had, but about every single week, every single tiny tactic that goes on. So, um, and Twitter is probably what I use the most. But please don't join on me on the hate crime that I've been getting on
Don't
Twitter.
add hate to it, please.
Please don't put hate on my post about Benfica away, but yeah, come and follow me on there as well because I do try and talk a lot about Arsenal or complain about Mariona not being included in the FIFA World Pro 11. Um,
Honestly, I'm about to film my episode this week for the podcast, and yeah,
Get that in there,
I'm going to be
100%.
ranting about that little
And
one for
Emily
a bit.
Fox, but that's just a person. Emily Fox, not a single American, was included in that, including the best right back. There she is in the world. So, lots of thoughts on that. I'm sure you'll
That is,
include
yeah,
them. Daisy
no,
said that we should have done this.
100%, 100%. Yeah, so go get involved with that. Obviously, yeah, I feel like we've yapped a lot, but I've really enjoyed this conversation. I
Yeah,
hope you
me
have as
too.
well. I feel like we've covered a lot, and I still feel like in the future I'd love to have you back on because I feel like there's still so much to talk about. Not even just the current squad, your journey. Still, I feel like there's so many ins and outs. But I hope everyone enjoyed like learning something new about Daisy. And if you didn't know Daisy, now you know a lot about her. You know she likes to yap. She's the biggest Arsenal fan.
Never
You'll
shut
catch her
up.
home and away, opening all these bars in all these streets. So yeah,
She never shuts up, so you know where to find her. You'll probably
literally,
hear her before you see her.
I'm literally trying to do the outro and she's still yapping. Like honestly, I don't really know what's going on, but
I'm not part of this script. I'm going to step out. But
no,
no,
that's
thank you for having me, by the way.
of course, anytime, anytime. But yeah, that's basically all I had to say. Obviously, right now you'll be able to see us visuals on YouTube. So if you're over there and you want to join this growing community, please subscribe. No pressure though, and obviously on Spotify as well. If you're more of like a podcast girly where you like to go on a little, I don't know, hot girl walk, then we're over there as well. So you'll just be able to talk, like hear us instead of actually see us. So that might be better, who knows. But anyways, yes, thank you, and we'll have another Fan Zone episode in a couple of weeks, and I'm literally filming the one right now for this week, so it'll be out soon. But yes.